6TR, broadcasting live from Burslem to the heart of the community.
Welcome back to 6TR Saturday Breakfast with Dan and Chris. Chris is still here.
Hi.
Hi, that was nice. I enjoyed that. Hi. And we've also been joined by Paul Williams, who's joining us from the Stoke-on-Trent City of Culture 2021 bidding team. Hi, Paul. How you doing?
I'm fine, thanks, Dan. And on this beautifully sunny but crisp cold morning, thanks for the brew. It set me up well.
I mean, don't tell everybody I'm making brews, because everybody else who comes down to the show is going to expect one now.
I don't get one.
No, Chris didn't get one. Sorry.
I did wonder why I'm the only one with a brew.
I'm just terrible at making brews. That's what happens. So, Paul, thank you very much for joining us this morning. You said it's very cold and it's Saturday. So I'm sorry about getting you out of bed.
That's no problem. I have two young children who get me out of bed much earlier than this. I think 4:30 when I first was disturbed this morning. But there we go.
Never. Oh, horrible. So let's talk about the City of Culture bid then. There's a lot of posters which have gone up around, and social media presence is getting there. Just tell us a bit about the bid and where we're at the moment with it.
Well, we're exactly where we need to be is probably the point to start at. The bid competition hasn't opened yet. We're expecting that to start in January, when we'll be given the definitive criteria against which we need to bid. The process, for people that are not familiar with it, is that we then submit a first stage application. It's fairly prescriptive. It doesn't give us a lot of opportunity to be as creative as we would like to be in the full bid which will follow. But we have to get through that stage, because one of the things that I keep impressing on people whenever I meet them as I'm going around talking about the City of Culture work is, in order to win this City of Culture competition, we have to see it as a competition, and we have to play smarter than the competition. So the first priority is to get on that shortlist. The 30-page bid will get us onto the shortlist. That should happen around the springtime. We'll then be given a mentor appointed by the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, who will work with us as we firm up and really develop the bid and bring in some of that really exciting creative stuff that will help us to deliver what I think will be an incredible and winning bid, but a bid that captures the personality, the character, the essence of Stoke and this region.
Looking at the bigger picture, say obviously that it's accepted. We're on the shortlist from January. What does it mean to the people of Stoke-on-Trent from the bidding point of view? How will we get involved, and what will be in it for the people of Stoke? Why should we invest time into the bid? Okay,
I'll come to the second point in a moment, Dan, but just to be clear, the competition opens in January. The shortlisting will take place around spring, and then we start on the rest of the journey, with the final announcement to be made in November next year at the end of Hull's party year of culture. How can the people of Stoke-on-Trent get involved? Well, thankfully they're already involved, and that's one of the things that's been most pleasing for me. You know, we've been doing a lot of work under the radar for around about 15, 16 months, and that's right, because when we went live, we had to have a story and a narrative which explained why we were doing the bid, why the bid mattered to the people, and why people needed to get involved. Since that point, we've had a number of cultural forums, and they've increased in terms of attendance over the period of time that we've held them. So for the last cultural forum, which was held at Gladstone Pottery Museum, there were close to 100 people there, and there were people who were coming along asking, what can I do? How can I be part of this bid development team? What do you need me to do in order to make the difference? And that's important. How can the wider community get involved? Well, what we've been doing is going out and about at the moment. You may have seen reference to some of the little activity we're doing called Bottling Culture. And what matters to me is that we develop a bid that really is Stoke-on-Trent's cultural bid. The only way we'll do that is to get the people of Stoke-on-Trent and the wider region, because I'm not forgetting the importance of working with Newcastle under Lyme, for instance. So how do we get all of the people in the region to help us to define culture and then shape the cultural programme that will help us to win this particular competition? So for me, it's whether, it's the thing that makes life interesting. So my definition of culture and your definition of culture and Chris's definition of culture will rightly be different. But when I look across all of the various communities, their understanding of culture, the thing that makes their lives interesting and enjoyable and gives a sense of quality to their lives, will be different to the things that I enjoy. Nonetheless, we have to find a way to capture all of that, to bottle it, and to make sure we use it to develop the bid that is a Stoke bid.
Now, if we look at the other the other potential shortlist contenders, there's Reading and there's other places as well. Obviously, Reading is one of the biggest ones on that list, as well as Stoke-on-Trent ourselves.
Reading are actually not part of
okay.
it. There's the City of Culture. There are currently 6 declared cities,
okay.
of which we are one. The other 5 are Paisley and Perth in Scotland.
Yes.
Hereford, but that's mainly a sort of a shire.
Yes.
So it's Herefordshire rather than the town of Hereford. And then Sunderland and Coventry. And then we're the 6th declared city.
Yep.
You don't have to declare. There could be other cities
yes.
that I'm not aware of. I'd be very surprised if Reading were going to bid, but let's wait and see.
So if we do look at the other, so Reading, Sunderland as well and Coventry. Do apologise. If you look at their social media presence and their kind of traction of it, some would say that we are. And I know it's right at the beginning of the process, but some would say we are falling behind with that as Stoke-on-Trent. Is that something that you're aware of at first, and something that you wish to obviously increase as this time goes by? People getting involved on social media, I think that is the biggest tool for anything nowadays. Obviously, being an internet radio station, we know the importance of that. Is that something that you see yourself as part of the bid, that this needs to grow, and we need to show people that Stoke, we can get behind this, and this is something we're proud of?
I think first and foremost, from a social media perspective, I would say we're at the right place. I'm watching the social media outputs from the other bidding cities, as you'd expect me to do. It's different to ours. I'm not saying it's any better. It's just right for them. And what we're looking at and what we're focused on is the social media communication strategy that will help us to win. We've started to ramp up the social media content and engagement. People are starting to contribute in different ways. A lot of that currently is through Twitter. Facebook and Instagram have not been used in quite the same way, but we've got some interesting ideas as to how we're going to take that forward, particularly in relation to young people who can give a different perspective and a different voice from the social media communications work that we want to do. But what matters is the extent to which the judging panel around the key points in the process start to understand how social media has enabled us to reach out and bring people along with us. So we've got the plans in place. I'm fairly confident that our approach is the right approach for Stoke. But as I say, we're monitoring the other cities. I'm not unduly worried. I like to think that our social media output is doing what it needs to do for us.
You mentioned before about the general public, and you opened up cultural meetings as well that you mentioned at Gladstone Pottery. Is there events like that coming up? Can people get involved? Can people use their feet and come and support the bid and do other things for yourselves along with the bid?
The simple answer is yes, Dan. The next cultural forum is the 16th of December, and again there'll be further information about exactly what will be involved in that cultural forum, and anybody that wants to attend that cultural forum can attend. But one of the other ways in which we're tackling this is not so much to hold events at this stage. There will be other events as part of the sort of the next few months of activity where we really sort of reach out and communicate from the bid team's perspective. But we're still at that point, that important point where we're engaging with communities. So I'm working with the Community Matters team from the City Council. I'm working with Nick Grattan in the Creative and Communities Unit from Staffordshire University. And we're going out into communities. So rather than saying to people, look, we're going to host these events and we want you to come along, we're actually going into the communities where we know we'll make the difference, and we'll know we'll get people to stand up and say, look, this is the sort of culture that matters to me and my community, and how are you going to use that to help shape that bigger cultural programme? So that's where we're at. There are other events planned at key points when we know we need to get out there from a wider engagement perspective. We just have to get the timing of those right.
There's a lot of arts and community performance hubs which have kind of popped up around the city, and some which have been forever, seem to be here forever, and are finally kind of getting the recognition they deserve. And obviously, a lot of artists are in Stoke. We are part of the creative county. Is it important for the bid to kind of not unify these guys, but kind of get together and say, look, we're in this together. There isn't you, there isn't us. It's Stoke. Is that important for you to get involved with? Not get involved with the arts community, but kind of say, look, it is us together. We're in this together. Is that important?
It's vital. At the risk of being accused of pinching other people's straplines, other organisations' straplines, whether you use from the Sentinel perspective, local and proud, whether you use from a city council perspective, the stronger together approach, whether you use from Staffordshire University, that sort of connected university, it is about bringing people along with us. This is the city's bid. It's not my bid. It's not the council's bid. It's not the university's bid. It's the city's bid. So what we're keen to do is to make sure that everybody recognise that. When you talk about it from the, I suppose, the artists and the cultural community, there's a growing critical mass, a growing clustering of some of that activity. You look at the fantastic work that Appetite have been doing, and I know they've been bringing some interesting events from outside the city into the city, but we've been learning from those events, and what we've been able to do is to make sure that we capture that as we develop our own interesting cultural programme. I look at the Art City Consortium, whether it's Letting in the Light, who were behind that fantastic opening event of Golden just a couple of weeks ago, or the work that B Arts are doing, which is very much community-based arts engagement. That's a big part of what we want to do.
On the you mentioned Appetite, bringing obviously fantastic arts organisations into the city, and ourselves learning from this. How important is it from a bid standpoint, from when we do, obviously, if and when we do get shortlisted, and if and when we obviously push on for the actual bid, how important is it we still introduce these organisations from outside of Stoke-on-Trent, but how important is it that we use homegrown talent to put on these events as well, and not to kind of, because you get a kind of, not animosity from a wide audience, but a kind of, or if you're not in that kind of zone, then it's not going to get put on, or it's not going to get pushed as much as other events. How important is it for a bid for local artists to kind of say, this is our city, let's make something, let's push this together, as well as working with Appetite and bringing people in, and Appetite using local artists as well? How important is it for the individual for that bid as well?
Okay. Again, it's crucial. When we win, we will be delivering 365 days of culture in our party year. Actually, there's a number of years before 2021 when we need to undergo a sort of a capacity building program. We need to scale up our cultural activity. There needs to be interesting events that are happening in 17, 18, 19, so that by the time we get to 2021, we know we can deliver world-class culture, and we will deliver world-class culture. And some of that will be activities and programs that we bring into the city, because I think it's right that this city, like every other city, gets the opportunity to enjoy truly world-class events. However, if we're serious about delivering big step changes, if we're serious about the legacy of hosting the UK City of Culture, then it matters that we bring local community and local arts organisations along with us. Because the legacy, the real legacy, the legacy that shows that we've developed a vibrant and vital creative and cluster sector in the city will only happen if we have organisations from the city working with us. You don't deliver 365 days of culture by hosting a number of headline events that you bring in. You deliver that whole year, that whole party year, by having the balance of some events that you bring in, some events that the government will actually allow us to host. So whether that's the Turner Prize or the Man Booker Prize or the BBC Sports Personality of the Year, they're headline-grabbing events. But actually, we need to develop our own events as well, where our own fantastically talented cultural people are part of that event.
And how important is it to galvanise all of the 6 towns? Because there's a feeling at the moment from, I think obviously just being in Stoke-on-Trent, you can feel that, and being in Burslem in general, where you've got the Our Burslem group who have gone, you know what, we're going to make something this, and you've got Stoke Events Group in Stoke. There's a lot of events groups and there's a lot of groups for each 6 towns. How important is it to galvanise all 6 towns and the key players in those 6 towns?
We need to galvanise the 6 towns plus. The importance of Newcastle should not be underestimated. Keele University is a key player in this bid team. The New Vic is the only national portfolio organisation in the county. They are such a key player. Appetite are based in the New Vic. There's some wonderful cultural artists who are doing some great studio work in Newcastle. So it's the 6 towns plus, and it's every community within those 6 towns. We're here in Burslem today. A few weeks ago, Joan Wally demanded, in the way that only Joan can, that I attended the Burslem Regeneration Trust meeting to hear about the great stuff that's happening here in Burslem, whether it's the work that the Middleport Matters team are doing, whether it's stuff that's happening at Middleport Pottery. We're just down the road from the Wedgwood Institute, where there's been some wonderful events on. A Christmas Carol was on only last Sunday. So those town-based activities collectively will come together and will have a common narrative. And it's important that we have a thread around which we tell our story, the cultural story of Stoke-on-Trent. So in the way in which Wedgwood, sort of 250 years ago, talked about uniting art and industry, what we'll be doing is taking art and culture and science and technology and enterprise and education, and we'll weave our story, our narrative will somehow pull those together. And whether it's the art and culture in Burslem or Tunstall or Fenton or Longton or Stoke or the city centre of Hanley or Newcastle or any of the communities around, it will be important to make sure we get that programme right.
Thank you very much, Paul. Just to summarise, why should people get involved with the bid? Why should people feel the bid is for them?
It just feels to me like it's Stoke's time. I'm personally, I don't buy into to this that I've heard from some people, and thankfully it's a decreasing number of people, that Stoke doesn't get a fair crack of the whip. I don't buy into it. I think we have to be smarter sometimes at how we play the game. But why does it matter for people to get behind it? Because it will make some big difference and change to people's lives. When I'm talking about 16-year-olds doing GCSEs this year, what will Stoke-on-Trent look like and feel like for them when they're 26 in 10 years' time? That difference will be the difference that this City of Culture programme makes.
Paul, thank you very much. Where can people go online and follow the bid on Twitter?
Well, as you say, online is the obvious starting place. So so22021.com. Please, at so22021, always use the hashtag so22021 if you've got some great events. The stuff that's happening here is 6TR. The more we get out and we use hashtag so22021, the more we'll see our impact of social media increase as well. Paul,
thank you very much. Don't forget to go to SOT 2021 to get involved with the bid. Find them on Twitter, and Paul said as well, hashtag SOT 2021. This is John Dawley with Little Dance.